From the Detroit Free Press, I'm Brian Todd with today's Voice Briefing. It's Monday, April 22nd, 2024.
I'm Carly Martin for the Detroit Free Press. Cicadas are returning in a historic fashion this spring, with two broods of bugs emerging at the same time for the first time in 221 years. These North American insects fall into two categories, annual and periodic cicadas. While the annual cicadas pop up in late summer each year, the periodic cicadas only come out once every 13 or 17 years. This resurfacing occurs at the end of their life cycle, after years spent living underground but just in time for them to emerge as adults, reproduce, and die. Scientists still aren't 100% sure why the cicadas come back specifically every 13 or 17 years, but they theorize it's an evolutionary response to avoid being easily preyed upon. But regardless, once the soil temperature reaches 64 degrees Fahrenheit, which usually happens in April or May of the right year, the cicadas start springing out. Back in 2021, the 17-year Brood 10 emerged across the eastern U.S., including some spots in southeastern Michigan. This year, Brood 13 and Brood 19 are emerging together, covering even more territory across the eastern U.S. and even causing some overlap in Illinois and Indiana, with millions, if not billions, or even trillions of bugs. But entomologists say it's very unlikely that either of the broods will pop back into Michigan this year. In fact, if bug lovers want to see this rare double emergence, they're better off to drive into one of our neighboring states. And no worries, the cicadas aren't dangerous. They won't even eat your plants.
This is Detroit Free Press auto critic Mark Phelan. Off-roaders are welcoming the Toyota Land Cruiser back to the United States this month, but the SUV that's in dealerships now has features nobody imagined when the first Land Cruiser hit U.S. shores as a 1958 model. The 2024 Land Cruiser is a hybrid for a start. Its gasoline and electric power plant is more powerful and gets better fuel economy than the last generation Land Cruiser sold here, despite having a smaller engine. The 2024 Land Cruiser develops 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. Full-time all-wheel drive is standard, as is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Off-road gear includes a 2-speed transfer case, locking center and rear differentials, and a disconnecting stabilizer bar. Those parts and sophisticated electronic controls make the Land Cruiser very capable off-road. I took one rock crawling up and down steep dirt slopes, through water and mud on a California course just north of the Mexican border. Toyota didn't let us drive the Land Cruiser on road. That's a significant omission, but the roomy 5-seat interior seems likely to be quiet and comfortable in day-to-day driving as well as off-road. Prices for the Land Cruiser run from around $56,000 to nearly $75,000.
I'm Andrew Burkle with the Free Press Sports Department. And on Sunday, the Tigers wrapped up a big divisional series win by beating the Minnesota Twins on the road. Former number 1 overall pick Casey Mize had probably his best start since making his return from surgeries on his back and elbow, throwing 6 scoreless innings as the Tigers hitters got the job done in the 6-1 win. Since getting shut out on April 15th against the Texas Rangers, the Tigers' bats have started to come alive. They've scored 4 or more runs in all but one of those games since then, with the lone exception when they scored 3 runs on Saturday against the Twins. They also scored 7 runs in a loss to the Rangers earlier this week. On Sunday, Kerry Carpenter continued to stay hot, driving in the Tigers' first run of the day and moving his hitting streak to 7 games and his RBI streak to 6 games, which is the longest for any Tiger since 2017. But arguably the biggest play of the game was when second baseman Buddy Kennedy, in just his second game with the Tigers and in his first start, hit a 2-run home run to blow the Tigers' lead open to 4-0. When Kennedy made contact, he started sprinting, not knowing just how hard he had hit it. He later said he thought it was going to be a double, but was obviously pleasantly surprised when it went over the fence. After getting a really strong outing from Casey Mize to clinch a series win, the Tigers will head back down to Florida for the first time since spring training for a series with the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa has not exactly come flying out of the gates, but has made the postseason for 5 straight seasons and still has a really good team. As the Tigers try and keep their momentum going, they'll have the ace of their staff, Tarek Skubal, on the mound, looking to help the team try and stay close in the race for the American League Central as teams like Kansas City and Cleveland continue their hot starts.
Find more from the Detroit Free Press on freep.com. That's FREEP.com. Thanks for listening, and you'll hear more from us tomorrow.